What's up, guys? How is it going? It's been a while since we actually did a video here on the channel. We've been doing a lot of live streams for the NFL divisional rounds and the wildcard rounds. Thank you for you guys who did join in on those streams. It's been a lot of fun. The NFL playoffs has been a lot of fun. And one of the teams that we've been watching the rise of is the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. Now, this is a video by She Got Sports. It's not a video we reacted to before. First time today. How Jared Goff unexpectedly saved his NFL career. Now, I obviously know the name of him. I've been watching him at the Detroit Lions, but I don't know anything about his past. So that's what we're learning today. We're on a mission to learn more about the quarterbacks in the NFL. So we're going to start with Jared Goff. Let's dive into it. Let's go.
Jared Goff was traded because the Rams decided he was the player holding them back from winning a Super Bowl. The trade stung even more when the Rams did go on to win the Super Bowl with their new QB in just his first season there. So how did Goff go from being publicly called out by his old coach to being viewed as just a bridge quarterback to now leading the Lions on a historic playoff run? We're about to find out, because this is what they aren't telling you about the rise, fall, and redemption of Jared Goff. Jared Goff.
I will just say quickly, right? If the Kansas City Chiefs do get knocked out by the Baltimore Ravens, I'm fully behind the Detroit Lions after hearing the story and that they've not won a playoff game in over 30 years and all that jazz.
Grew up in Northern California as a huge 49ers fan. He loved Joe Montana and wears the number 16 because of him. Goff attended Marin Catholic High School
playing the 49ers as well, right?
As the team's varsity starting quarterback his sophomore year. As an upperclassman, he led the team to a combined 25-2 record and even an appearance in the state title game. By the end of his high school career, Goff was a 4-star recruit and ranked as the 15th best QB in the class of 2013 by 247 Sports. The most notable names ranked above him on that list were Josh Dobbs and Christian Hackenberg. Even though Goff was a 4-star recruit, he only had 4 scholarship offers from Washington State, Fresno State, Boise State, and Cal, which I found very weird.
That is a bit weird,
isn't it? How is a 4-star recruit not getting more offers than that? And let's be honest, those aren't the best football schools. Goff ultimately committed.
So shade if you're a supporter of one of those colleges. I apologize on behalf of She Got Sports.
To Cal and went on to be the first true freshman to start a season opener for the school. But things did not go as planned for the Golden Bears that season. The team went an abysmal 1-11. Despite the terrible record, Goff broke multiple Cal single-season records, including passing yards in a season with 3,508. The next season, 2014, the Golden Bears still couldn't achieve a winning record, but improved to 5-7. And Jared Goff was a huge reason why. In September, he led his squad to a 59-56 OT win versus Colorado, a game in which he had over 450 passing yards and 7 touchdowns. Just a week later, in the next game, Jared broke Cal's single-game passing record by passing for 527 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Caught fire out of nowhere
versus Washington State. Heading into his junior season, Jared Goff was named the #1 QB prospect for the 2016 draft by Todd McShay. And Goff definitely lived up to the top QB hype that 2015 season. In a November game, Cal was down by 17 versus Arizona State at halftime. Jared then put the team on his back and led them to a comeback win by throwing for 542 yards and 5
breaking tackles
touchdowns,
like it's nothing.
breaking the school's single-game passing record that he set the previous season. And guess what? Cal finally had a winning record Goff's junior season, going 8-5 and winning a bowl game for the first time since 2008. Goff ended his junior season with 4,714 passing yards and 43 touchdowns, which both broke the record for most by a Pac-12 player in a single season. After a record-breaking season, Jared Goff declared for the 2016 NFL Draft. Early in the pre-draft process, the majority of experts still projected Goff to be the first quarterback off the board. Even though Jared was ranked as the best QB in the draft, back in February, many didn't have him going #1 overall. That was projected to be Laramie Tunsil. Goff didn't test great at the combine in the physical tests like the 40 and vertical jump, but did do well in the quarterback drills. Just 2 weeks before the draft, the Rams traded up from the 15th overall selection to the 1st by sending a haul of picks to the Titans.
It's like that movie with Kevin Costner, Draft Day or something, Draft Class, something like that. That ridiculous film, and I watched that film on an airplane and I was like, what is this film? It was I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie, but at the same time, I was like, what is going on here? We're just going around in circles in this movie.
The Rams were in need of a quarterback after starting both Nick Foles and Case Keenum the previous season, so it was clear the reason they traded up was to select Jared Goff. Draft day arrives, and the Rams do indeed draft Goff
#1 overall.
To start the season, Jared was sitting on the bench, learning behind a veteran starter Case Keenum. Heading into Week 11, with the Rams sitting at 4-5, head coach Jeff Fisher announced that the rookie would be taking over as the team's starting QB. But once Goff took over as the starter, things went south fast. Jared Goff did not win a single game his rookie season. In the 7 games he played, he completed just 54% of his passes for 1,089 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. But the most
That's a horrible record, man. 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's like me playing Madden.
troubling part was, Goff looked significantly worse out there than journeyman QB Case Keenum. It was really one of the worst rookie seasons we've seen from a QB. During the offseason, some even suggested the Rams should start Sean Mannion over him the following year. As the losses piled up, Jeff Fisher was fired in the middle of the season, so the Rams needed to find a new head coach. But they did something that shocked almost everyone in the NFL.
What did they do?
They hired Washington's offensive coordinator, Sean McVay, who was just
Still there
30
now?
years old at the time. In the first game of his second season in the league, Goff looked like a totally different quarterback. In the Rams' Week 1 win versus the Colts, he completed 72% of his passes for 306 yards, 1 touchdown, and no turnovers. His great play continued throughout the year, including 2 games with both 300-plus passing yards and 4 touchdowns. With the offensive combination of Goff and Gurley, the Rams won the NFC West with a record of 11-5, snapping the organization's streak of 10 straight losing seasons. For the first round of the playoffs, the 3-seed Rams were set to face off with the 6-seed Falcons. This game marked the Rams' first playoff appearance since 2004. After being down 14-10 at halftime, LA's offense stalled in the second half and couldn't score more than 3 points, resulting in the Rams losing 26-13. Goff finished his second NFL season with 3,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions.
That's a better ratio, isn't it? 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. There you go, Jared Goff. You're on the right
Despite
path,
Jared's
lad.
play exceeding expectations in 2017, he wasn't given a lot of credit for the Rams' great season. That mostly went to Todd Gurley, who had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and was the best running back in the league. Goff's play was also overshadowed by Carson Wentz, who went 1 pick after him in the draft and was having an MVP caliber season before tearing his ACL. Expectations were sky high for the Rams heading into 2018, as they held the second best odds to win the Super Bowl alongside the Steelers and Vikings. Goff's play continued to improve in his third NFL season. In a Week 5 win versus the Vikings, he completed 78% of his passes for 465 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no turnovers. A few weeks later was what some call one of the greatest regular season games of all time, a face-off between the high-powered Rams and Chiefs offenses.
Big Patrick Mahomes,
With
you know.
2:47 left, the Rams got the ball at their own 25, down a score with no timeouts left. With 1:50 left, Goff threw a touchdown to give LA the lead, which they held on to win 54-51. Jared had over
54-51. We might need to check that out in a throwback game. Guys, in the comments down below, let me know some other games you want me to react to from the past. I know some of you guys have already got some. I've got a list already, but if there's any others on there, highest, like, upvoted one, we'll check out.
400 yards, 5 total touchdowns, and no interceptions in the dub. The Rams finished the regular season with a 13-3 record and were a 2-seed heading into the playoffs. Goff yet again put up the best numbers of his career, throwing for over 4,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. After a first-round playoff bye, LA won 30-22 versus Dallas in the divisional round, which marked the first playoff win for both Jared Goff and Sean McVay. Up next was the NFC Championship game in one of the loudest stadiums in the league, the Superdome in New Orleans. Before the game even started,
So the gates of
Rams
hell.
had a disadvantage. Right before taking the field, the speaker in Goff's helmet wasn't working, so he had to use backup QB Sean Mannion's helmet on the first drive of the game, which ended with him throwing an interception. When Goff's helmet speaker did get fixed, he still couldn't hear the plays because of the crazy amount of noise from the fans in the stands. So the
Big up
Rams
those
staff
fans.
had to put tape over his helmet ear holes to try and keep as much of the external sound out as they could. By the end of the first quarter, the Rams were down 13-0. Before half, Goff led the team on an 81-yard touchdown drive that put them down just 3 heading into the locker room. With 1:45 left in the game, the score was knotted at 20 and the Saints were in the red zone. Then This controversial non-call happened on 3rd down. The Saints ended up kicking the field goal and were up 3 with just over a minute and a half left in the game. Goff got the ball back and led the Rams from their own 25 to the Saints 30, where Zuerlein hit the game-tying field goal to force overtime. In OT, the Saints got the ball first, but Drew Brees threw an interception around midfield. So with excellent field position, the Rams were able to get close to field goal range. On 4th down, Greg the Leg Zuerlein trotted out to attempt a 57-yard
never heard about the legend of Greg the Leg,
which he nailed to send the Rams to the Super Bowl. In the biggest game of the season, the young Rams were set to face off with a Patriots dynasty team that's
Who's that? Who's this guy?
Coach and QB had more Super Bowl wins than the Rams coach and QB had playoff wins. The game was
Someone
super
will be
low
baited
scoring,
by that
and
in the
at
comments.
half,
Someone
the
will be
Patriots were
baited.
up 3-0. The supercharged Rams offense from the regular season was just nowhere to be found. Heading into the final quarter, the game was tied 3-3. Goff had an opportunity to give LA the lead, but missed Cooks running open on a go route to the end zone. Then, the Patriots scored the first touchdown of the game with 7 minutes left. With just over 6 minutes remaining, the Rams were down 7. Goff led the Rams on a drive down to the Patriots 27 and came this close to throwing a touchdown to Cooks, which would have tied the game. But on the very next play, he did this, a terrible interception to Stephon Gilmore that pretty much lost the Rams the game. The criticism of Goff was loud after he completed just 50% of his passes in the big game. Despite his poor performance in the Super Bowl, the Rams signed Goff to a 4-year extension before the start of the 2019 season. That year, for the first time in Goff's career, his numbers declined. His touchdowns that 2019 season dropped down to 22, the least he's thrown in his career since his rookie year, and he also had a career-high 16 interceptions.
His ratio's gone south again. I just want to say, this She Got Sports, this YouTube channel, she's an excellent storyteller.
The team
I'm enjoying
finished with
this
their
video.
worst record since Goff's rookie season, going 9-7 and missing the playoffs. There were questions about Goff entering the 2020 season. Was he a good quarterback or just propped up by Sean McVay's system? I quickly want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy. I love playing Underdogs Pick'em.
Let's just skip.
Goff's struggles from the previous season continued in 2020, and after a Week 12 loss versus the 49ers, things reached their boiling point in LA. After turning the ball over 3 times and not scoring a single touchdown, McVay called out Goff in front of the whole locker room after the game, reportedly shouting in his direction that he needs to play better and can't turn over the ball. Just a few minutes later, in his post-game press conference, McVay said to the media, "Our quarterback has to take better care of the football." Communication between Goff and McVay during that 2020 season was apparently few and far between. The two didn't really talk. In Week 16, Goff broke his thumb and was ruled out for the final game of the regular season. John Wolford started in place of Goff and won versus the Cardinals. The Rams' 10-7 record was good enough to put them in the playoffs, and in the wildcard round, they were set to face off with the number 3 seed Seattle Seahawks. Despite Goff being medically cleared to play, McVay opted to start Wolford, but when he had to leave the game in the first quarter due to a neck injury, Goff was back under center. Jared didn't necessarily
NFL's such a cruel sport when you think this guy's getting his chances. I know this is a Jared Goff story, but just to go to that backup quarterback, he finally gets his chances. He played in the playoffs against the Seattle Seahawks, then he gets injured in the first quarter. Such a cruel sport, man.
Play well in that game, completing just 9 of his 19 pass attempts, but he did throw a touchdown and didn't turn the ball over, which helped the Rams pull off the upset victory. LA then headed to Lambeau to take on the number 1 seed Packers in the divisional round. Despite Goff playing better in this one, completing 77% of his passes, the Rams couldn't pull off the upset and lost 32-18. Just 2 weeks after that loss, everything changed for Jared Goff. He was blindsided when he found out the Rams had traded him 2 first-round picks and a 3rd-round pick to the Lions for Matthew Stafford.
It's a big trade,
it was clear the Rams felt like they couldn't win it all with Goff, so decided to give up a ton to land their new QB1. Looking back on it now, McVay has said Goff deserved better during the end of his time in LA, and admits he could have handled the situation better. Sean shared he regrets not being able to look Jared in the eyes and tell him he would be traded in person. Once news broke about the...
It's good that he's admitted that, and if we... without being like harsh on him either, like he seems like a fairly young coach compared to some of the other coaches we see in the league. So I mean, they're learning as they go along, aren't they? Still,
Blockbuster trade.
he does look young
Many
compared to
viewed
a lot of the
Goff
other ones.
as a bridge
With the
quarterback
exception
in
of
Detroit.
Daniel,
The
maybe.
Lions were rebuilding, and people believed they would be drafting a quarterback soon. But that's not the way Detroit's front office and coaching staff saw it. They brought in Jared to be their guy. Except things didn't go as planned right away. Goff's first season in Detroit was one of the worst of his career. Going from playing with talented vets like Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and Robert Woods to a young rebuilding Lions roster most definitely had an impact on Goff. The team finished the season with a 3-13-1 record.
That's some bad years,
2022 was the
My
second
God.
year of the Lions post Matt Stafford rebuild. The team started the season going 1-4, but after their Week 6 bye, the Lions finished the year with an 8-4 record, including a Week 18 win at Lambeau to keep the Packers out of the playoffs. Goff had sneaky good numbers that season too. For the first time since 2019, he threw for over 4,000 yards. He also had 29 touchdowns, which was the second most in his career, and just 7 interceptions, which tied a career low for him. So how did Goff have one of the best seasons of his career with a roster that was not nearly as talented as any of the Rams teams he was on? Basically, because he was given control of the offense. In LA, the Rams would go no huddle a lot, so McVay could see how the defense lined up and then tell Goff through his helmet what play to run once he was at the line of scrimmage. But in Detroit, Goff was given full control of the offense. He could make changes pre-snap and wasn't forced to run whatever play his coach called in. Many had hoped the Lions could have one of their best seasons in a long time as the 2023 preseason rolled around. But not a lot of people expected them to pull off an upset
go all the
versus
way.
the reigning Super Bowl champion Chiefs in the first game of the season. The Lions went on to finish the year with a 12-5 record, making it the second time in the history of the organization that the team won 12 games. As we all know, the NFL script for the playoffs was just so on point for this year that the Lions hosted the Rams in the first round. And as we all saw, Goff got his revenge versus the Rams, completing 81% of his passes for 277 yards and 1 touchdown to help the Lions win their first playoff game in over 30 years.
That's a
Goff
crazy
has
stat,
totally
man.
revived his career in Detroit and has proved he isn't just a product of McVay's system. With the teams left in the NFC, the Lions have a legit chance to make it to the NFC Championship game and maybe, possibly, the Super Bowl for the first time in the team's history.
Right, we won't
Jared Goff was
we won't get ahead of ourselves. They got a long way still. It's one game, but it's a long way to go before they get into that Super Bowl final. But as I said, if the Kansas City Chiefs do get knocked out, we will 100% be rooting for the Detroit Lions in their game. Guys, go and check out She Got Sports. Excellent video. First time we've reacted to them. The link will be down in the description. Please subscribe to my channel. I really enjoyed this story. Like I said, we are on a journey to learn. I feel like we've not nailed the rules of American football, but you guys will be able to tell who've been watching the live stream. We're a lot more knowledgeable now than we were this time last year. The biggest gap in my knowledge is about the players in the league, especially like the quarterbacks, the running backs. That's who I want to learn about now. So that is going to be where we're going with the channel at the moment. We are also going to have some NBA content coming up very soon. It's good to be back making videos, but we are going to be live streaming again the championship round games. So make sure you subscribe, notifications on, all that good stuff. Hope you're all doing very well. I'll see you for the next one. Take it easy. Peace.